People who unsubscribed from their once favorite YouTuber. What made you hit unsubscribe? All my favorite YouTubers stopped making videos. I remember when YouTube felt like home. Every day after school, I'd rush to my laptop, eager to see what my favorite creators had uploaded. But one by one, they stopped. First, it was a gaming channel I loved. He announced he was burnt out. Then, a vlogger who just disappeared without a word. And now, the last one standing has just uploaded a goodbye video. It hit me harder than I expected. I get it. People change, and content creation is exhausting. But something about watching these channels die out feels personal. I watch them grow, change, struggle, and succeed. And now, they're all just gone. It makes YouTube feel empty, like a graveyard of memories. Every time I scroll through my subscriptions, I see names of channels that haven't uploaded in years. It's a weird kind of loneliness. One day, I clicked on an old video from my favorite channel, hoping to relive the nostalgia. But the comments were filled with people like me wondering what happened, sharing memories, mourning the loss of something that was never theirs to keep. It felt like visiting an abandoned house, seeing echoes of the past in the dust-covered furniture. I tried moving on, subscribing to new creators, but it's not the same. Maybe I'm just stuck in the past, but nothing hits like those old videos did. The humor, the inside jokes, the community, it all felt special. Now, everything feels like content for the algorithm rather than for the viewers. I hate sounding like an old man, but YouTube just doesn't feel the same anymore. It's not just the creators who changed, it's me too. Back then, I had all the time in the world to watch videos, engage in the comments, and be part of something bigger. Now, life keeps moving, and I barely have time to keep up. Maybe that's why it hurts so much. It's not just that they left, it's that I'm not the same person who used to watch them. Still, I wish they'd come back, just for one last video. Even if it's just a "hey guys, I'm doing fine." I don't need them to make content forever, but some kind of closure would be nice. Because every time I check their channel, a part of me hopes I'll see an upload. And every time, I'm disappointed. Sometimes I wonder if they miss us too. Do they ever think about the thousands of people who waited for their next video? Do they ever open their old channel, scroll through the comments, and feel the pull of nostalgia? Or did they just move on, leaving it all behind like a childhood diary, long forgotten? Either way, I still keep them in my subscriptions, just in case, because deep down, I know it's stupid, but I can't bring myself to unsubscribe. Clickbait titles and thumbnails. I used to be a huge fan of this YouTuber. Their content was original, funny, and felt genuine. But one day, I started noticing something weird. The titles became more exaggerated, and the thumbnails looked overly dramatic. At first, I ignored it. Maybe they were just experimenting. But then it got worse. Videos promising shocking truths, insane reveals, or "I can't believe this happened," kept flooding my feed. And every time, the actual content was disappointingly normal. I still gave them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they felt pressured to grow. Maybe the algorithm pushed them in this direction. But after a while, it became clear this wasn't a phase. It was a permanent change. I'd click on a video expecting some wild story, only to find the same recycled jokes, stretched out intros, and nothing remotely close to what the title suggested. It felt like they stopped respecting their audience. What really pushed me over the edge was when they started faking drama. They'd post cryptic titles like, "This might be my last video," or "We need to talk." I click, thinking something serious was happening, only to find out it was just another overhyped update about their channel. The emotional manipulation was exhausting. It wasn't about making good content anymore, it was about maximizing views at any cost. I tried skipping the bait and only watching the content I actually wanted, but it was impossible. Every video followed the same formula: a dramatic face in the thumbnail, an insane claim in the title, and at least 5 minutes of nonsense before getting to the actual point, if there even was one. It felt like they weren't making videos for fans anymore, just for numbers. At some point, I realized I wasn't excited to watch them anymore. I'd hover over their videos, already knowing I was about to be let down. So, I stopped clicking. And when I stopped clicking, I stopped caring. Eventually, I asked myself, why am I still subscribed? I wasn't watching. I wasn't enjoying. I was just hoping they'd go back to what they used to be. But that wasn't going to happen. The day I unsubscribed felt weirdly freeing. No more frustration. No more falling for the same tricks. No more disappointment. It's sad when a creator you love changes for the worse, but at some point, You have to accept that they aren't making content for you anymore. They're making content for the algorithm, and you're just a statistic to them. What's funny is, years later, I randomly checked their channel, and guess what? The clickbait had only gotten worse. The thumbnails were even more ridiculous, the titles even more exaggerated, and judging by the comment section, plenty of their old fans had left too. It made me feel better, knowing I wasn't the only one who got tired of the fake hype. I just wish they realized that genuine content keeps people around way longer than cheap tricks. Maybe they'll figure it out someday, but until then, I'm not coming back. Too many sponsor ads. I get it, YouTubers need sponsors to survive, but there's a difference between making money and turning your entire video into an ad. This YouTuber used to have the perfect balance. Great content with the occasional sponsor mention. But over time, it started creeping in more and more. First, it was just at the beginning. Then, they added another in the middle. And finally, they started closing videos with one. At that point, it felt like I was watching a commercial, not a creator. At first, I told myself I was overreacting. After all, skipping an ad isn't that hard, right? But then they started getting sneaky. They disguised the ad as part of the video, dragging it out with a fake story just to push some VPN or mobile game. It wasn't a quick mention anymore, it was a whole mini segment. And worst of all, they'd act like they personally loved the product, even when it was obvious they didn't care. The breaking point for me was when I realized their videos had more ad time than actual content. I once checked the timestamps, and out of a 12-minute video, nearly 5 minutes were sponsor reads. That's almost half the video, and it wasn't just one sponsor sometimes. They crammed in 2 or 3. It felt like watching a TV show where every scene was interrupted by another forced, over-the-top ad. It made me start questioning their integrity. Were they even passionate about making videos anymore? Or were they just using their audience for cash? I wouldn't have minded if the content was still good, but it was clear they were prioritizing money over quality. The videos felt rushed, like the actual topic was just an excuse to sandwich in more sponsorships. The enjoyment I once had watching them was completely gone. I tried holding on for a bit, hoping they'd tone it down, but it only got worse. They even started making special videos that were basically just 10-minute ads disguised as content. I'd click on a video thinking it was an interesting topic, only to realize it was just a glorified product placement. At that point, I couldn't take it anymore. I was out. I hit unsubscribe and never looked back. A few months later, I got curious and checked their channel. And guess what? The comments were full of people complaining about the same thing. I miss when this channel was about the content, not the sponsors. Feels like an infomercial now. It was kind of validating to see I wasn't the only one who got tired of it. And yet, they never seemed to change. If anything, they leaned into it even harder. It's honestly sad. They used to be one of my favorite creators, someone I drop everything to watch. Now, they're just another sellout pushing whatever product pays the most. I know sponsorships are part of the game, but when they take over the content, it stops feeling like a real channel and starts feeling like a business. I wish they realized that losing loyal fans isn't worth a few extra dollars. I guess I've learned my lesson. Now, when I see a channel slowly turning into a walking advertisement, I don't wait around. I just leave. Too much personal drama. I originally subscribed because their content was amazing fun, well-researched, and entertaining. But over time, the videos started changing. At first, it was small things. A few side comments about how they were feeling, or how life was stressful. That didn't bother me. I get it. Everyone has rough patches. But then it became constant. Every video turned into a therapy session. And I realized I wasn't watching for the same reasons anymore. I stuck around, hoping they'd get back to their usual content. But instead, the personal rants only got worse. A 10-minute video would have maybe 3 minutes of actual content, buried between long tangents about their personal struggles. It wasn't even related to the topic, just endless complaining about family issues, mental health, or internet drama. It felt like they forgot why people subscribed in the first place. At some point, I started dreading their uploads. I'd click, hoping for an interesting take on a topic, only to be met with another 15-minute emotional vent session. I'm not saying creators can't talk about personal stuff, but there's a limit. If every video feels like an update on their life problems rather than actual content, it stops being fun to watch. It felt like I was being held hostage in someone else's crisis. What made it worse was that they never seemed to do anything to fix their problems. It was the same issues, over and over. At first, I felt bad for them, but after months of hearing the same complaints, I realized they just liked the attention. They weren't looking for solutions, they were just dumping their problems onto their audience, expecting us to listen without question. I started skipping videos, hoping maybe they snap out of it. But when I finally came back, it was more of the same. At some point, I had to ask myself, why am I still here? I subscribed for engaging content, not a never-ending monologue about their personal life. And the worst part, their old videos were still amazing. It's just that they weren't that person anymore. The day I unsubscribed, I didn't even feel bad. I just felt relieved. No more wasted time. No more disappointment. No more sitting through long, unrelated rants just to get to the actual content. I wasn't angry at them, just tired. Some creators forget that people subscribe for a reason, and if you stop delivering that reason, people will leave. That's just how it works. Months later, I randomly checked their channel. The views had plummeted. The comment sections were full of old fans asking, what happened to this channel? It was sad to see, but not surprising. They built an audience on one type of content and then abandoned it. People don't mind creators being human, but there's a difference between occasional updates and completely changing what made you popular. Looking back, I don't regret unsubscribing. I just wish they had found a way to balance personal talk with actual content. Maybe they still can, but until then, I'm done being a free therapist. Mark Rober turned into Mreebist engineering. I used to love Mark Rober's videos. They were smart, fun, and made science feel exciting. Every upload was a deep dive into cool engineering projects, explained in a way that made you appreciate the effort behind them. But lately, something's changed. His content isn't about creativity or curiosity anymore, it's about going bigger, louder, and flashier. It feels like he's trying to be Mreebist with an engineering gimmick, and honestly, I can't stand it. At first, I thought it was just a one-time experiment. Maybe he was testing a new format. But then, every video started following the same formula. Over-the-top challenges, exaggerated reactions, and some ridiculous prize at the end. The calm, informative tone was replaced with high energy, fast cuts, and dramatic music. It felt like he wasn't teaching anymore, just competing for the biggest, most viral stunt. I get that YouTube rewards this style of content, but it's not why I subscribed. I like the older videos, where he built something cool and explained the science behind it. Now, it's just, I built the world's biggest insert random object and gave it away. Or we spent $100,000 testing some extreme version of an old idea. It's exhausting. The heart of his channel, the love for engineering, feels lost in all the hype. The worst part is that the educational aspect feels watered down. Before, he'd take time to explain concepts in a way that made you think. Now, the explanations are rushed, squeezed in between dramatic challenges and reaction shots. It's like the science is just an afterthought, something to justify the spectacle. I miss when his videos made me feel smarter instead of just entertained for 10 minutes. I tried giving him another chance, hoping he'd find a balance. But every upload just confirmed what I already knew: his channel had fully transformed into a high-budget, high-energy viral machine. And sure, the views are still massive, but it doesn't feel the same. It's like watching your favorite band sell out, chasing mainstream appeal while losing what made them special in the first place. Eventually, I stopped watching altogether. The excitement I used to feel when I saw a new upload was gone. I'd hover over the thumbnail, see yet another insane experiment with a ridiculous prize attached, and just scroll past. The final straw was a video where he basically just recreated an old concept, but threw in a giant budget and a Mreebist-style twist. That's when I knew it was time to unsubscribe. I checked his channel recently, just out of curiosity. The comments are still full of people praising him. And I get it, he still puts a ton of effort into his videos. But I also saw plenty of old fans saying the same thing I felt. I miss the old Mark Rober. This doesn't feel like the same channel anymore, and it's true. Somewhere along the way, he stopped being an engineer making cool projects and became just another viral content creator. I don't blame him for adapting to YouTube's trends, but that's not why I was there. I wanted science, creativity, and genuine enthusiasm, not oversized, flashy experiments designed for mass appeal. So yeah, I'm out. Too many I'm mentally ill videos. I subscribed because their videos were full of fascinating facts, random history, weird science, and obscure trivia that made you see the world differently. They had a way of making every topic exciting, and I loved that. But then, the content started changing. Suddenly, every other video was about their mental health struggles. At first, I sympathized. Everyone has problems. But after a while, it felt like that was all they ever talked about. At first, they'd just mention it briefly, little comments about their anxiety or depression. That was fine. It made them human. But soon, those comments turned into full-blown rants. Instead of learning cool facts, I was getting long, emotional monologues about how they were struggling to function. I don't mean to sound heartless, but I subscribed for fun. Engaging content, not someone's ongoing therapy session. I tried to be patient. I figured they were just going through a rough time and would get back to their usual style. But the mental health talk never stopped. It became the main theme of their channel. Every video was either about their struggles or heavily sprinkled with reminders of how hard life was for them. The interesting facts were barely there anymore, just buried under layers of self-pity and vague cries for help. What made it worse was that they weren't even offering any insight or solutions, just endless venting. If they had been using their platform to educate or spread awareness, I might have stuck around. But instead, it was just the same complaints over and over. No growth, no change, no effort to improve, just an endless cycle of, I'm mentally ill, and here's why everything sucks. It became exhausting to watch. The moment I finally unsubscribed was when I realized I didn't even enjoy their videos anymore. I kept clicking out of habit, hoping maybe they'd snap out of it and go back to making the content I love. But every time, I'd end up frustrated. The energy, the curiosity, the excitement about the world, it was all gone. It felt like they had completely lost the passion that made their channel great in the first place. I know mental health is important, and I get that people need to talk about it. But when a YouTuber builds their audience around one thing and then completely shifts to another, they can't expect everyone to stay. I wanted fun facts, not a constant reminder of how miserable they were. If they had found a way to balance the two, maybe I'd still be watching. But at some point, the channel just stopped being what I signed up for. I checked back recently, just to see if anything had changed. Nope, still the same thing. The views were dropping, and the comment section was full of people saying they missed the old content. It was sad to see. They had so much potential, but instead of evolving in a meaningful way, they just let their problems take over. And their audience, people like me, slowly drifted away. Now, whenever I see a creator start sliding into this pattern, I take it as a warning sign. I don't wait around anymore, hoping they'll fix it. I just leave.